What up, what up, what up? So, on another episode of Cruising the Conversations, today what I'm going to get into really quick is I'm having a lot of conversations with people on the side, and not to mention any of these Corvette groups and forums on Facebook and so forth. And there's this misconception that this is a great time to be a car dealer. So, one of the comments that the guy said to me was that dealers have cut all costs, got rid of, they're down to minimum staff and so forth, and they're making nothing but profit. I will say this, that's a good point, but let's dive more deep in depth with it. So, is this really a great time to be a dealer? Let's find out. Okay, so get back into this this is a great time to be a dealer, cutting costs, so forth, yada, yada, yada. They're making nothing but profit. I don't necessarily agree. And I'll tell you why. So, for those that know me personally, know I've been in the car business. If you don't, I'm going to give you a quick history. I've been in the car business for a while. I actually got out because the business was doing so terrible. The profits were down and so forth. And that all comes into a whole bunch of factors. So, when I hear people say, oh, the car industry is great, thriving, and so forth, that's a great outside perception for somebody who hasn't actually been in it. So then one of the comments were made that, hey, I went to this dealership, they had more salesmen than they had desks for them to work at. Well, when you're in the car business, that's called flooding the floor. It's not necessarily a benefit for the salesman, because it makes you have to go through unnecessary competition when there's not enough customers to go around. If there was enough customers to go around, there would be enough desks for every salesman to sit at, because every salesman would be expected to have a customer. So sometimes you have to recognize the signs of a struggling business. But let's get back again closer to this conversation. So when they say it's a great time to be a dealer, yes, COVID forced a lot of people to cut their staff and so forth to go down to try to survive. When you see a reduced staff, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden now, because I got less employees, my market, my overhead has changed, my increase of business and so forth. See, the problem is a lot of people that believe this are Corvette C8 owners or people that's trying to buy the car. You see a huge markup on the car, you assume that when it sells, oh, the dealership's making a killing. They're making some money back, but there was some struggling times last year. Why, if the times wasn't bad, why do you think so many dealers offered, let me rephrase that, not dealers, but manufacturers offered 0% for 84 months? That's unheard of. Why do you think so many manufacturers were throwing out no payments for 2, 3, and 6 months? Again, that's unheard of. That's not signs of a great marketplace. That's signs of struggling business. And we're doing anything we could possibly can do to have people come out and commit to paying for a vehicle. So you have to, again, understand the signs. So, now because there's a lack of inventory, because COVID has pretty much shut down a lot of the car production, the car parts, and so forth of that nature, so everything is scarce. So what you're seeing is, because there isn't a lot of vehicles, the hot cars are being overpriced to hold in value. Whereas every car has slightly went up or has started to retain some form of value, because truthfully, you're still not stopping evolution or life, meaning that my 16-year-old, now 17, has gotten her license and wants a car. Well, she's an extra driver to hit the field. There are people that didn't have cars, that didn't have license, that got cars, got licenses and so forth, now have money or saved up money to get a car. So you have more drivers entering the marketplace. So there's a more demand of a vehicle. This is called a cycle. So yes, whereas you could have looked at maybe a Ford Escape 2012 and got one for $6,000, maybe in 2019, that now you look at a Ford Escape and you get one in 2012, you're talking about $10,000. You're like, what the hell? It's not the dealer making a huge profit unless they had the car. The cars are starting to retain value because you can't replace it. But at the same time, for all my people that think the dealers are making huge money, you got to remember, there are a lot of dealers with no inventory on their lots. What do you think they do? They're trying to sell cars. They're trying to keep their doors open. So if they have no inventory on their lot, how can they sell a vehicle? All I'm saying to you is, don't believe the hype. Don't get caught up in the C8 sales and the new Escalade sales and all these hot cars. Yes, if you're in that type of market, you're going to feel like these dealers are making money hand over fist. But what you also have to realize is only a few big dealers have that type of inventory. Most don't. When I search for cars, I see maybe 2 Corvette C8s at the same lot on the used side. You see more so, I'm not telling you everywhere, because there are some people that actually throw the money into it to make this money, but you're not seeing a lot of lots filled with C8s. And if you do see a lot of lots filled with C8s, you ain't seeing a lot of lots selling cars for making a huge profit. So it's a give and a take. But all I want to say to you is, don't get caught up in the hype, because it's not what people trying to make it seem. A lot of these dealers are struggling. They're making some form of money. They're not making great money. Yes, they may move a C8 15, 20 grand over, but here's the problem. If you're a used dealer, what did you pay to get the car? Because as the consumer in the marketplace, you're sitting there saying, hey, this dude is selling his C8 for $128,000. They had an MSRP of $88,000. So you're like, that's a 40 grand markup. But realistically, the car was probably $88,000. If it was sold at MSRP, came out to 90 something to somebody for some change, and I say 90 something, let's just say like 98,000, just a rough number. And then somebody might have sold it for 110 to make some money off of it. If they bought it for 110,000 to get it away from the customer, and then they put it up there for sale, say for 128, if they get the $18,000 profit, that's amazing. But realistically, they're probably not going to see it. They're probably going to negotiate it, but if they get it, that's still good. They got $18,000 off the deal. So whereas you thought it was a $40,000 markup, it was only $18,000 for them, or possibly even $15,000. And because the other factor of this is, everybody is not walking in paying cash. So what do you do as a dealer is, you put the best markup on that you think you could get for the car that will still get people to come in. Then you try to convince them to make it happen. So what happens in most cases is, I can tell you I want $150,000 for a car all day long. Once I send it to the bank for financing because you want to get it financed, the bank say, hey, the only market value for the car is $120,000. Unless you get that customer to put down 30 plus grand to cover tax, title, and license, you have to start moving on your price. So they can put it for 128, but when the marketplace hits, or the evaluation of it, Black Book or NASDAQ, however the bank you're using goes for it, and they say the car is only worth 122, either you getting the customer to put down a difference, or you're going to start floating on your price on. which has happened because, like, you know, I don't really care so much about what they're asking for cars. I periodically take my vet in, and just to see where it holds and to decide if I still want to keep it or so forth. When I bought my car, and I did pay over MSRP for it, just so you understand. When I bought my car, from the time I closed the deal, meaning agreed upon the price, got the finance, and sent them the money, so forth, yada, 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 I didn't pick it up for almost, I want to say, 9 days, 7 to 9 days, or something like that. And my bank or my credit union was hesitant to send them a check, so my bank did a reevaluation on the car. And what's crazy is within a 10-day window, the car appreciated, and I say again, appreciated in value almost $8,000. So that's amazing, because when I drove off the lot, if I'd have told it, I had an $8,000 profit in the car. Checking these days, just so you know, because right about now the car is just around 4,000 miles. I'm at 3,800 and some change. Took it in the CarMax, and they still offered to give me $7,300 more than what I paid for. So I put 4,000 miles on the car and lost $500. But that was CarMax. I've also had other dealers calling, asking to give me a $9,500 profit, because they still feel like they can move it, because yes, I do see with the same mileage I have with more markup. So at the end of the day, it's still a benefit for me right now. So I'm going to watch it closely. I may move it, I may not. I mean, honestly, I got such a great deal on this car, and that's why I tell people it's hard to, when you go bang for your buck, it's hard to get rid of this car for me. Even at, and now I go back to a place I never was at, it's hard for me to get rid of this car even at $35,000 over MSRP, which would still be like a $12,000 profit in my pocket. And I know I can invest and do other things. It's because I can't replace it. And everything I got with this car was going to cost me damn near that difference to get it. So that's a benefit I had to weigh and balance. If you see a dealer with minimum staff, it's not because they gutted the dealership to make huge profits. They're struggling. When you see the sales force minimized in the dealership, it's not like they don't want more salesmen. They want more salesmen, more customers. They want more business than they can handle. That's the goal and desire of every dealership. There are probably a few that are making great profit margins right now, and those are a lot of your high volume dealers who have a franchise tag, and they're more concerned about back end money. You gotta understand, those dealers are so far in between. I challenge you, do your research and find the number one, number two franchise tag dealers in the country. Meaning, if you're looking at C8s, pretty much every C8 owner know who number one and number two is. I'm not going to give you the answer, but we all know who number one and number two is, right? So I want you to look at their volume of vehicles and how many vehicles they sell, right? Then I want you to look at the top 10. And I want you to see the difference in volume sales from 1 to 10. It's dramatic. Then go from 1 to the top 50. Now I say this to you because there's 50 states in the United States of America. So you would assume each state should at least have one of the top 50 dealers, right? I mean, that would make sense. But when you see the difference in car sales from number 1 to number 50, not to mention there's probably, just for Chevy alone, over 1,000, 1,500 Chevy franchise tag dealers across the country. So I want you to keep that in mind. So when you say they're making money, you can't say just because the number one and number two dealer is pushing out so many cars that the number 50, number 100, number 1,000 is doing the same, because they're not. And that's all I'm trying to get across to you, is the number one Corvette dealer may not be the number one Chevy dealer. Because what sells a lot more than most people think is around this country is trucks. Sorry, break news for you. Trucks and SUVs are the number one sold in the country. So the number one Chevy dealer in the country may not be the number one Corvette dealer in the country. But the Corvette market is small. At the end of the day, I hope this video got you a little bit more information, or at least got you to understand my thoughts in this casual conversation, because I'm starting to realize there's a lot of people out here with these thoughts. Some ask questions, some don't. But I'm trying to answer these questions for you guys, because if people are asking me this, and I'm seeing them in Corvette forums and so forth, I'm sure it's something you want to know. But I'm not just doing this for Corvette forums. So I'm doing this for all the car I follow and so forth, because you understand, I'm a Mercedes owner, Corvette owner, BMW 6 Series. I've had all these vehicles, so I've been pretty much a large part of these groups most of my time, and we still have conversations. You know, I'll be real, I haven't left them all. So have fun, enjoy your vehicles. If you got some questions you want me to do a video on, drop them in the comments or send me a message and I'll address it. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Follow us, ICNV Drivers Edition. Thanks for tuning in and watching the video. Have a great day. God bless you all. Peace.